Ask them to help your neighbor, but get over there and do the job yourself. In any event, I don't want to get down in this joyous season. I want to get up, and I hope all of you get up and do something for your neighbor, and I wish you all a most joyous Christmas holiday. Reed, you too.
Thank you very much, Mark. We all set an extra seat, believe it or not, at our table, because somebody at the last minute may show up. Somebody, we do extend invitations, and the really important thing to do is remember there are a number of people who do not have family around them, and they might want to have a place to go on Christmas and Thanksgiving, Easter, any major holiday. And this is a period of, for some people, they really get down, so you got to go out there and lift them up a little bit. So if you have a friend or a neighbor or even a relative that doesn't have much social activity going, they might be they might be handicapped, they might be people who have to stay in their house or whatever, homebound. Invite them over for just set another place at the table. They don't eat much, and they'll think the world of you, the world as suddenly rosy and beautiful instead of dark and gloomy. There, think of that, guys. And Merry Christmas again to everybody, if I forget. We have with us a guest who's never been on the show before, and she believes that this is going to be all talk and nonsense by me. But no, she does get a little time. She is a wonderful person who has a huge history in the church. She is a priest, and she has done a lot of hard work. And at this point, she's the interim priest over at St. Peter's Church in Westfield, Episcopal Church in Westfield. And I brought her along here. She was so gracious and good to come over and give up her Saturday morning to just talk about Christmas and some of the meanings of it and some of the ins and outs of it. Now, first of all, what do you want me to call you? Reverend Dower, or Sandra, or Mrs. Dower, or what?
You can call me Sandra.
Sandra, good. Okay, call me Reed. You know, they all do anyway. Sandra, what's your background? Where do you come from now? Philadelphia, Midwest, California? Where did you start out?
I started out in a little town in Rhode Island called Westerly.
Westerly? Mm-hmm. And when you had Christmas in Westerly, I'm sure it was about the same as anywhere else. You had a Christmas tree?
Oh, yes. From the time I was 10 years old on, we lived in a little town just west of Westerly.
West of Westerly.
In North Stonington, Connecticut, across the state line. And we had our own land, and so we would go out and cut down our own Christmas tree.
Oh, that's true. Well, when I lived on Long Island, I was born and raised up here. My family founded the county. But I was the first Irish son, and the first Irish son gets three choices for a career. He gets the farm. We didn't have a farm. He becomes a priest, or he emigrates. I emigrated. I went down Long Island, got married, and had a bunch of kids. And as a kid grew up, we had to have a Christmas tree. And Long Island is an interesting sort of setup. It has huge areas with no buildings on it, which are intentional because it has an aquifer, and the rain has to get down to it. And it's a very small area. So their water supply is important, and they keep this area pretty much barren, excepting little barren pines, they call them, grow on them. These are little stubby sort of oddball pines that go up to maybe 6, 7 feet. And I got permission to go up and take a tree occasionally because I knew the town guys. And my kids would come down, we'd stop, and we'd march in, and I let them cut it down. We'd cut down a tree and sing Old Tannenbaum, as we dragged the tree out and took it home. And I always picked a few extra boughs because these trees were pretty awful looking, you know, kind of not really very well. And I take the boughs and wire them in here and there in the tree. And now you got a nice, full, perfectly formed tree. And we decorated it, and then we, as the Irish do, we celebrate with oyster stew. You know, the Irish were surrounded by oysters when they came over here, and so they ate them. Nobody else wanted them.
Oh, New Englanders love oyster stew, and it is a traditional Christmas meal.
Yeah, you know, it's just wonderful. Well, anyway, so everybody has a way of celebrating of course, they have Hanukkah at the same time of year, pretty much, for the Jewish element, and there's Kwanzaa,
I think.
Yeah, I have a beautiful daylily called the Kwanzaa. I can never remember exactly which it is. But Kwanzaa, which was started by a teacher actually down in Brooklyn, who created the Kwanzaa celebration. And it does hark back to ancient beginnings, though. And the Christmas tree came from the Druids, I believe. They used to have a tree out, and they didn't cut down. They just decorated trees out in the woods. They believed that there were spirits in the trees. Okay, I'm doing all the talking. I shouldn't do that. I promised I would, though. Well, let me ask you, Sandra. Now, we have Christmas in this country, and one of the criticisms of it is, and not to get down or anything, but it's a little bit too oriented toward buying things and money and gifts and so forth, and we've completely forgotten the message of Christmas.
I think that's true. If you watch TV all the time, or every single newspaper we get is full of all of those inserts that are asking us to buy.
Right.
But certainly in the church, that's not true. In the church, the focus is on the birth of Christ. The focus is on the great gift that God has given us. The focus is on God's love and his continuing love for us, and how we emulate that love, and how we can, at Christmas time, spread the joy of that love with our friends and our relatives and our neighbors, as Mort was saying. One of the wonderful things that I have enjoyed at St. Peter's is the community kitchen that meets 5 days a week.
I cooked there for 15 years. Yeah. Now my son took over for me.
And which one is your son?
James Powers. We're not related, incidentally, closely to the lovely lady who runs the place,
Beth.
Beth Powers.
Yes.
But James is now taking over. He's a gourmet chef, and he does a wonderful job. He's a chef over at Chautauqua. He's a personal chef over there during the summer.
In the summer.
Right.
Well, the community kitchen, I enjoy it. I'm only at St. Peter's because I'm part-time 2 days a week, but I try to eat there when I can and get to know the people. They're wonderful people that come in there, and it's a great ministry that the town of Westfield supports, and the Food Bank of Western New York supports, and St. Peter's supports, with both the building and finances, and also with volunteers that work there.
Right. I think there's something like over 30 volunteers that work there. I've worked there 15 years as a chef. And my son, God bless him, has taken over for me. I just retired because you get arthritis. And when you're cooking large amounts of things, it's tough on your hands. And it's a beautiful setup they have there. And they serve probably, I don't know, they have a huge lunch. It's complete, nutritious, well-prepared lunch. And they often have takeouts of things. And they serve up to 50, 60 people a week over there. I mean, a day, I should say, 5 days a week. And it's just it's a wonderful gift to the community. And
sorry.
No, go ahead.
This past week, Beth has gone out of her way to make it look like Christmas at the community kitchen. There's a big Santa Claus on the door, and perhaps Santa Claus doesn't sound like exactly the decoration you should have in a church, but as he's a community people, well, yes, this one doesn't look too much like a saint, but that's all right. But it makes it cheerful and welcoming, and reminds all the rest of us that we're very fortunate, and so we need to spread that fortune around.
There are many people who are less fortunate around who, I think the food kitchens that we have, the pantries and the kitchens, Westfield has both. On Tuesdays you can go over to the Methodist Church and pick up staples.
Right.
And I don't mean the kind where you have the machine, but you get flour and canned foods and so forth, and if you're in need, and it's a wonderful gift. And then we have the community kitchen where there's no questions asked. Anybody comes in and you have a nice dinner. Some people leave a little donation.
Yes.
They're better off. And it's operated by the churches and the people, and a lot of other organizations. The fire department gives to it, and I know personally, and it's just a wonderful setup. And so there's nobody in Westfield has to go hungry. If you are hungry, you go down to the St. Peter's Church, your church, and you stop in, and around, I guess it serves at 11:30.
11:30.
Stop in, you get a full hot meal. It's a balanced meal, and you can get seconds too if you're still hungry. I mean, it's just wonderful.
And it's very pleasant. It's a wonderful room, but even more than that, the volunteers are cheerful and friendly, and Beth herself is a wonder.
Beth is the sweetest person on earth. And her husband, Ron, who's very supportive, and also a good chef himself. He comes in and,
yes, he does.
and does some of the dinners.
Yes, he does.
Now, you have a wonderful